So this week we did an experiment on ferrofluid or magnetic fluid, and it's a special type of liquid, but we'll go over exactly what it is in a minute. So for this experiment, all you really need is laser jet ink toner, vegetable oil, and a magnet. My experiment did not work properly, if I'm being completely honest, and I think I didn't use the right type of toner, and I think that's why, um, or I didn't use enough toner. Either way, mine was not successful, and I was a little disappointed, but I unfortunately couldn't try it again after I already tried it multiple times, so we're gonna have to go for a fail on this experiment, but hopefully anyone else who tries it was successful with it. So for the setup, it's honestly, again, pretty simple. In a cup, you're just going to combine that about 50 milliliters of ink toner and about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. You might need a little bit more vegetable oil, maybe a little bit less, but you really want the consistency to be kind of thin, but with like a slight viscosity to it. And you can test the solution after you stir it by putting the magnet on the side of the container. And if it's done properly, the liquid should magnetize and small needle-like projections should pop out, which mine did not, but I still tried to finish the experiment anyway. And then finally, you can just pour it on the table or a flat surface and place the magnet underneath it, and then you can kind of just have fun with it. You can move it around, you can spin it, you can draw with it, just kind of look at the different projections that it creates. The next slide, we're going to see my failed attempt. So here's mine. As you can see, mine's pretty thin. I also think it didn't have enough viscosity in it. So I moved the magnet around. I didn't get any projections. I tried this multiple times. I tried it on a table. I tried it a few times. And I ended up running out of toner, so I couldn't try it again, unfortunately, but the whole point of this is just to really understand ferrofluid and what's going on here. So again, what's happening in this experiment if done properly, right? So we're kind of playing with ferrofluid here. It's a fluid that has tiny magnetic particles floating around inside of it. And it's a special substance. And for this liquid, really what causes it to be in this liquid form is this oil or this I'm sorry, I lost the word. This surfactant, that's what I was thinking of. The surfactant that we use that prevents these magnetic particles from attracting to each other. And it really causes this substance where the magnets can't get to each other. And that's where our vegetable oil comes in, but other substances can be used. Just because of how thick oil can be, that's why we use the vegetable oil. But then the magnet, once we press that against the liquid, it condenses it into a solid, and that's why we get these projections, and we see that it can move and do all these things in the presence of the magnet. The chemistry side of this, what's happening here is the van der Waals attraction. So due to this attraction, the magnetic particles, they want to accumulate, they want to group together and just attract to one another. But due to the surfactant that we use, the oil, it prevents it from doing so. So when we add that magnet, it brings it all in together, and it does form that solid form that we see with the needle-like projections, which is pretty interesting because to think of this substance that's almost in two different states, really, because with the oil in its presence, it obviously has to stay in a liquid, but with that magnet, it automatically goes into that solid form, and it gives us those projections that it can move, and it can do all these things. And it's used in medicine. NASA uses it. There's so many different ways that we can use ferrofluid, and I think it's pretty interesting that this very simple fluid can play a pretty magnificent role on our bodies. So unfortunately mine didn't work. Hopefully if you recreate this experiment, it does work. But yeah, I still was interested in learning about ferrofluid. And honestly, maybe one day when I have a little bit more time, I'll try to do it again. And hopefully I'm a little bit more successful this time. But thank you for listening, and I hope you learned a little bit about ferrofluid.